Alright guys, welcome to Coach's Corner, and we'll be going through Conclave of the Chosen, which is probably going to be the first sort of wall bosses for most guilds, and it is quite complicated for the average heroic raider out there. We're using the Fat Boss video. I have another one prepped here for you guys as well, which you guys will see a different strat. But essentially this is a typical sort of council style encounter where you are dealing with different aspects, and you can choose on how you want to deal with them. So you've seen this boss in a similar fashion before, whether it was the bugs in Siege of Orgrimmar. You've seen it in Throne of Thunder as well, depending on which bosses you want to kill. So at the start here, you're dealing with two, right? Whichever one you kill, it matters, and they're gonna interact differently. You can't stack these together like with most council bosses because they have a damage increase and they're going to take no damage. So similar to the council back in Legion, you can't take them together because they're going to do a massive damage reduction. So tank them decently far apart, ideally close enough for your players to cleave them nicely or whirlwind them or whatever they need to do. That is one of the most important things. So again, damaging them, you don't want to be split damaging them because they will heal to full when one of them dies. So there's no point padding. I mean, if you're a warlock and you're generating shards or whatever on the other one, fine. At the same time, you do want to be focusing down one of these targets, and your players need to know what to do, or need to know which one to be attacking every single time. So on Heroic, which is what we're going to be going through, they're going to be dealing with Paku first. There's basically the Paku aspect, and then there is the actual Paku ability. So think of the bosses you're killing as the aspects, and then the bosses as a permanent ability to deal with. And the way it works is you're dealing with the aspect's certain abilities here. And whenever one dies, you can see here that it does massive raid damage to the entire raid for 6 seconds. That's when you want to use our major cooldown. Whenever a boss is active, they will have a permanent ability. So for instance, here's a dinosaur. The other one was the bird that spawns as well. With the bird, you're going to be dealing with that in the entire phase, or the entire duration of the encounter, and have to deal with it. This is Kragwa. So Kragwa is on Heroic as well. It's a stupid frog that leaps between the two most furthest people. What you can do is have a hunter over here and a hunter over here, and the frog just bounces back and forth. That is what you ideally want to do. You never want to have the frog jump in the middle of the raid. So it jumps to the furthest person, or one of the furthest people away. You'll see it leap to the other side. This is what you want. Leap, and then leap back over here, right, to really far people. Ideally, the tank is not over there, right? You're not tanking the bosses in that section. Again, really easy to deal with, and then run the polymorphs out. One of the things here is the reason they're killing Paku first is he has a stacking haste buff. Right, this buff is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and the more he attacks the player, the faster he attacks. So what you do is you do a tank swap, right? At enough stacks, he will then lose the stack here in a second. Here, it's 5 stacks, and it drops down. So you do want to let it expire, and there you go. There's the polymorph again. You do want a tank swap. So what other guilds have done is they've had a DPS, DK, Ret Paladin, whatever warrior, taunt for a second to lose the stacks, and then they move it on, and then back to the other tanks as well. So here they've chosen to kill Paku first, and there, increase the haste of allies by 40%, movement by this much, which is another buff that he does. Now, the main ability, so the aspects have their main sort of Loas, their main dinosaurs, rhinoceros, whatever you want to call them. This one has a massive bird. So at the start of the fight, you will have this bird as well. On a set timer or energy level, he's going to do his bird ability. So it's going to fly up in the air, it's going to land somewhere, and you have to run. So here's the thing. Don't be confused with the ghost. Okay, most players are going to get confused by the ghost. Oh, I have to run over here. That's not correct. If you actually look up in the air, you'll see where he's landing. You'll see here in a second there he's landed right here. So the entire raid, sort of like Jikun, he needs to run over to the raid in order to not take damage. If you are more than 10 yards away from this boss, you're going to take massive, massive damage. So he's flown to a random spot in the raid. You have to be inside the circle, and you take minimal damage. If you're really far out, you're going to take a crap ton of damage. This is where you use your speed boosts in order to survive. And you can see here people running in. There, this Alex guy taking massive damage because he's too far out. About to die here. I think they grip him in just at the last minute here. At the same time, you're still dealing with the bosses. Keep the bosses far enough away, otherwise they will kill the tanks and you will not do real damage on them. And that's it for Paku. I mean, you'll see what happens as well, where they start spell stealing the debuffs with the raptors. All right, so here you go, the crawling hex. You'll see this in So curse an enemy, preventing them from attacking for 5 seconds. When it expires, it'll spread to all 8 yards. So this is the green debuff that you see on people's circles. If the green circle is on you, run away from other people, right? For the most part, you're stacked in sort of centrally. But when this crawling hex is on you, when you're hexed, run away. Otherwise, you will explode on the rest of the raid, and you are now hexing them. So now they are incapacitated and they can't DPS. Run away with this debuff. Really simple to deal with. All right, so we're going to go through this next section. They're still dealing with Paku. So Gonk is pretty straightforward. He has a wild maul. Again, with most bosses, don't be in front of those bosses. He has a 90-degree cone, so quite large cone here like this that does large physical damage over 4 seconds. Physical tanks, this is where you would be using your cooldowns to survive them. At the same time, right, you have these raptors spawning. Now, these raptors are a priority target, right? Raiding comes down to 2 things. Stand in the right spot, kill ads. These are the ads you have to kill. These are your priority targets. They can be slowed, CC'd, whatever. However, if they get too close to each other, they're going to buff each other. And here they are chasing the other players. Again, Ring of Peace them, totally fine, whatever you need to do. But murder these raptors. Daughters, whatever you can. Yeah, there's Gonk's Wrath. That's Gonk's ability. So you'll be dealing with Gonk's raptors throughout the entire encounter. Here they're going to start chasing. So you can run next to them, right, if they're not chasing you. You can see here, this guy has no raptors on him. You can be next to them. That's fine. These guys that have the eyes over them, which is, typical fix-it mechanic, they need to run away from other people. So you can slow them. There's a leg sweep, Rings of Peace. Don't let them get to their prey. Again, a mark of prey there. They're going to try to run through those Rings of Peace, but they can't. Any CCs work, but murder these, then get back to the correct boss. And here they're killing Paku again. As you can see here, they do get a, if the raptors are too close, they gain a quick movement speed, and they're immune to crowd control. So keep them far away from each other. One thing you guys can do as a raid is assign different sections of the room. Hey, I'm CC at red marker, I'm CC at blue marker. That's where your stuns, slows, whatever are going to do, and you are prioritizing those on that raptor that spawns in that area. If you guys remember doing Agrimar with your little flame elemental, same thing, right? You were assigned to a certain section to root it, slow it, whatever. Do the same thing with the raptors. That's going to go a long way. You can see here there's the Paku's Wrath. All right, he's doing his maul. Again, don't be in front. So when the boss dies, you take that massive debuff, and the next one comes down. And you're going to be going through them until you kill every single one of them. So they killed Paku, and now they're going to be dealing with Gonk. Gonk, again, well, with Kimball here, they have Kimball down, and there's a big frontal swipe. The other thing you'll see with Kimball is he has a massive tiger. So the tiger that spawns, he's going to mark a few players. He's going to jump between those players and stun them, as well as knock them down. If you have the arrow over your head, like this guy does and this guy does, run away from other people, because you don't want to knock down all players, right? If you're stacking in the raid, you're going to knock down your entire raid, and you're going to throw a stacking bleed debuff on them. So here, slow down for you guys. Leaps from one guy to another guy. Oh no, it's on the tank. Not a fun time. So the tank is now stunned and left over here. Again, random. It shouldn't target tanks. That is not a fun time for any tank or any player out there. Again, here's Paku coming down. You're constantly dealing with these things. There's Kimball's. You're dealing with the other aspects. Now, the other ability here, when Akunda comes down, Akunda is the rhinoceros one, or stegosaurus, whatever you want to call it. He does a thundering storm, which you'll see here in a second. It's basically a 10-yard AoE. Don't be within the AoE. The other one that he does is he casts little lightning balls. You'll see those happen as well. Okay, you'll see Mind Wipe happen first. Mind Wipe is basically a debuff on your players. It's a magical dispellable one where their spells disappear for 30 seconds. You need to dispel them. As healers, prioritize going 1 to 4 or 4 to 1 to get these done really quickly, because they can't do anything, right? Like you've lost basically your abilities. All right, Akunda's Wrath. So this is the other one. So when Akunda comes down, you're dealing with Akunda's little circle here, so move away from it, the Mind Wipe, and then you're dealing with this Stegosaurus. The Stegosaurus is really important because this is like the council boss in, what is that, last year that we did. You want to be spread apart from other people. You're going to have little lightning under your feet, for most people anyway. You can see it's under all their DPS, not their healers, right? Tanks and healers do not have this debuff. Only the DPS do. Right, that is really important to see. For those that can see that on the screen. And so these guys have to spread out, right? You want to spread out wherever you can, because like Gahoon, it spawns little orbs whenever you're dropping it off. So again, you're dodging these. Now these orbs you've seen in the past. You guys remember doing Heimdall, Herjal, and whatever his name was, Odin. Same little orbs. You get hit by the golden orbs, you get stunned. Same thing here. You get hit by the blue ones, they're going to stun you. There's a Thundering Storm, which you want to run away from. So melee, don't stand in Thundering Storm, otherwise it's going to murder you. You can see the tanks also running away to the Thundering Storm while dodging the little orbs. So as you go through every single boss, you are dealing with that aspect's main Loa ability as well. So they're going to be dealing with the raptors and the lightning and the giant tiger and the giant bird all at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but all in a staggered setting. Now, one thing that's really important here, and this is what's happening. So here, you know how in that last council boss, you didn't want things overlapping. You had really crappy combos, right? Whether it was Norganons or whatever, it was a crappy combo. Same thing here, except you can control the combo. So you want to be killing the previous aspect when ideally the bird ability is going off or the other aspect's ability is going off. So here, for instance, they transition at a really bad spot. They have to stack in for this debuff, right, for the bird. But at the same time, they all have to spread out for the lightning. They're about to die because, number one, they're going to overlap their circles and kill each other. Number two, all the orbs are going to spawn here. They're going to murder each other. Watch what happens. Yeah, they're all pretty much murdered, right? Like, there's no way you're going to be dodging all those orbs. So you want to control the rate at which you push these. And there's a really good video here I'll share with you guys shortly where they really control how well they do it. All right, there's the Kimball aspect again. Now, once all these things are done, you know, the feedback from Fat Boss was, okay, so now it's one aspect. The fight is basically over. If you defeat the other one, you're down to one aspect here, which is Thundering Storm and Mind Wipe, and that's it. Like, it's super easy. At the same time, you're dealing with the bird. There's the bird coming down. Right, coming down in a second here. They're looking around, head on a swivel. Good job. And there's the bird. So you're dealing with a bird still. You're dealing with all those big abilities. You're dealing with the raptors. Raptors are not coming out. So again, when raptors overlap with this, stun them, knock them away. Don't let them get to their target because they're going to be immune to CCs. You want to get these stunned as far as you can. Perfect. So again, so they're locking them down, make it super simple for the rest of the raid team. Again, they're getting pretty close there, but you're dealing with these abilities over and over and over. And here's the spread lightning mechanic that we saw a little bit earlier. They spread out really well. Again, there's a ton of room to use in this actual room in a 20-man setting here. Use it. There's a lot of real estate to use. There's Thundering Storm again. You're dodging all these orbs. You've seen them in the past. Dodge, dodge, dodge. Make it really easy for yourselves. And here there's Kimball coming out. You can see the arrows over their heads. People need to be spread out. So if you see the red skulls, don't be near people with those. It's not only their responsibility to run away from people, but it is your responsibility to not be near them. There you go. Perfect. So that is one of the ways to do it. Again, once you're down the second last one, the fight is super simple. The hardest part of this fight is dealing with the last two. So potentially Kimball as well as Akunda. When those two guys are up and you're dealing with both of those abilities, that is the toughest part of the encounter. That is likely when you'll want a hero, when the last two are up. Because you need to burn those things down super quickly. Again, here you're dealing with the same overlaps over and over. But in general, I mean, it's more of a complicated encounter because of that second last phase. But you've also seen that in previous council encounters where there's just too many abilities at once. People are going to have to get used to running away from this and dealing with this and dealing with this. One of the best suggestions for you guys is really set these up in advance, right? Have those markers down, green, blue, skull, red, whatever. You are responsible for CCing those ads when they spawn or when they spawn near that side. That's going to go a long way for your teams. Now I'm going to show you one more video here. This one is actually a really good one because they did something differently. So they had a fun composition of, you can see here, lots of blue. And on this blue side, so they did things a little bit differently. So they're going to burn down, was it Paku here or Gonk? And because of all these mages, they're going to spell steal the buff. Right? Yeah, they're going to burn down Gonk and keep Paku up to have that haste buff, and now they have basically a permanent bloodlust that they're spell stealing. So they're burning down Gonk here, and we're going to go through the entire encounter as they get pretty close here, so the next couple minutes. There's the Wild Maul, so don't be in front. They're running out for the green circles, right? You don't want to hex your friends. And they're just, I mean, they're murdering it pretty well, right? You can see here the damage breakdown. This is the priest perspective from earlier from Opulence. There's the Raptors, right? They want to blow these Raptors up. Stun them, CC them. You can see the priest doing that as well. Marks of Prey. Don't let him hit your friends. So they get a nice little buff there and keep it away from other players. So again, ranged DPS are fantastic on this. Multi-dot is going to do really well because they can multi-dot all these Raptors while maintaining their dots on the main boss, which they're burning down here. And so again, depending on your mage spec and how they'll do. So you can see here the bird is coming down. They're going to be looking around. Well, where is it coming down from? Where is it coming down from? At the same time, they're dealing with the green stuff. There's the bird. Again, you see it coming down on that side. Be proactive and move there early. Okay, let it expire. Now, what happens? So here they chained it. So this guy actually dropped off the hex and spread it to somebody else. What the second guy does is really smart. He goes to the edge of the back circle to give everybody else a lot of room. Right? You see here, he went off to the side here, so he didn't overlap and spread the debuff and then wipe the raid. So shit happens, but adapt. Adapt and overcome. Here they're standing in the barrier, deal with that ability, perfect, and they've now killed Gonk. So the next ad has come down, again, Raptor spawning, and they are now dealing with Paku and Kimball. But they're going to be dealing, I think they had a split DPS issue here. And yeah, they had split DPS, and so they weren't sure on, should we be attacking Kimball or Paku at this point. I believe it's Paku who they wanted to be killing. There's Kimball's Wrath again. So you can see here, red skulls over people, spread away from those things. Well, like most of these abilities, if you know what to do for, or most of these bosses, if you know what to do for that specific ability, the rest of the encounters are easy, right? Like, what do you do when this is on your head? Okay, it's run away. What do you do when this is, coming down? Stack in, right? Being in the right spot, kill the ads. So there they had a really good spot. They were in a big triangle really far away from each other. Yeah, a couple of those guys got knocked down, but they didn't spread the knockdown to other players. So you can see here they had a nice split DPS, which is every raid leader's favorite thing. And so they weren't sure what to do. And so here we go. They switched back to Kimball. Kimball was the actual correct target, not Paku. There's the bird again. Landing here shortly. They're looking around for it, looking around. Again, if you look up, you'll actually be able to see it. There you go, nice and easy. So one thing you can do as well is once you have these markers down, call which marker, right? It is green marker. Rather than saying, hey, it's in the south side or the west side or whatever, green marker is where you're going to the bird. Bird at green. That is quick, concise communication for your raiders. Here again, they're using your cooldowns for those little things. Again, marks of prey, knock those out, ring of peace them, whatever you can. Murder the Raptors. Raptors are your highest priority target because you don't want them to murder your players. And dead players do no damage. So again, they're killing the Raptors here, keeping them spread away so they can be CC'd. Again, skull markers, don't be near a red skull marker. It's going to leap, leap, leap. Perfect. Those guys are knocked down. Again, you're incapacitated for a few seconds, right? So you don't want to have your raid incapacitated. All right, so they're about to burn down Kimball. And I believe they actually stopped DPS on this phase. So you can see here, they're actually going to stop damage because they want to do this. They want to burn down Kimball at the same time as the ability, so the abilities don't overlap. So yeah, they stop damage on him. You can see there's fewer fireballs going out. They're waiting for the bird to come down. When the bird comes down, then they push, so the abilities will not overlap. There you go. They've pushed him. So now it's Paku and Akunda. And because they have major raid-wide damage from the bird and major raid-wide damage from the aspect dying, this is where they use a lot of cooldowns. They call for their rallies, they call for their big cooldowns, they call for their aura mastery to get those things going. And they're healing right through it. Again, raptors are priority target. Burn the raptors before you get back on the boss. Always, get those raptors down. Don't scumbag on the boss the entire time. Okay, so here is Akunda's. Big Stegosaurus. Again, healers not targeted. DPSR. Run off to the sides. Again, you can see what they're doing here. Spread out really far. Running off to the sides is really great because when these orbs spawn from you, some are going to go into the wall. So you are negating a bunch of these orbs by running as far as you can out. So these guys did a really good job by running off to the sides. Watch what happens. These two orbs, don't have to worry about them. Except, if you're in the middle over here, well, now everybody has to deal with the orbs. Right, so you're dealing with few orbs to dodge. Make it easier for the rest of your players. The less they're moving, the more they're damaging. Okay, there's the tiger coming up again. Again, this is right here. This is the hardest part of the encounter, the last two, because you're dealing with all those abilities. You're dealing with the tiger stuff. So they chose to do this order because they could spell steal the boss for a long time from Paku's haste. They didn't use it effectively. Maybe this mage did, but they didn't use it well as they could have. So there will be different kill combinations or cheese combinations depending on your composition or what you want to deal with and what's going to be easier for your raid, right? Some guilds will want to kill like Paku second last. Some will want to kill it first, depending on the strength of your players or your tanks or healers or whatever it is. That being said, though, you'll still be dealing with the permanent abilities the entire time as each boss comes down. So again, good use of Ring of Peace, good CCs. They're going to burn down Paku shortly here. All right. Blow him up. Again, cleave is totally fine. When you have one raptor, they can burn down Paku. Again, they're trying to transition it so that it lines up with the main ability of the other guy. The last one doesn't really matter too much. Here they decided to heal on the last bit, which is fine. Again, that's more of a healer hero there. They want to keep him alive. At this point, they're going to start losing players because they couldn't keep up with the damage, and they're not going to have resers alive. They're one reser. So again, use your speed boost. If it's on the wrong side of the room, use your speed boost to get to it. Ideally, if you can, try to position the boss in a central location to minimize the run distance of your players. Right? If it's right here in the middle, then you don't have to run as far. If you're on the opposite side, well, these guys have to run really far, and now they died. That double guy died, the little paladin, right? The warlock dead because they couldn't make it in time. So this is just the final burn. Again, killing raptors. Raptors is a priority, right? Don't just tunnel into the boss. Again, you're spread out for this ability as well. But overall, like this little last section is one of the easier phases. Dodging the orbs, things you've seen in the past. Not much variation here between this boss on normal and heroic, minus the fun little frog guy. Got stunned there. Got marked by the tiger. There we go, and they're going to burn it down for the last little bit. I think they actually reset it here because they wanted to try a couple more things. But that is the first sort of council boss. In a nutshell, that is the 5th boss-ish, depending on what you're doing. So that was, should be a fun boss. I think it's pretty tightly tuned. It'll be a difficult boss for a lot of guilds. Definitely going to heroic. This will probably be the first big hurdle for a lot of heroic guilds just because of the overlap of mechanics and what they have to do. I definitely expect a lot of nerfs to this based off of what we've seen on PTR. All right, guys, that's it for Conclave of the Chosen. Thanks, guys, for watching, and have a good night. Thanks a lot.